I am currently in a love-hate relationship with Luke right now, mostly because this is approximately the third time I recorded everything. Mostly because thought I couldn't have time, but then now I'm home alone for probably hours. I didn't expect it, so I think I just wasted my time and effort for all the other recordings, especially the one I made when I was sick. I, oh my god. Hello everyone. It's Hello you wonderful pastries. It's me, Aki, or Akie LJ. And today, finally, we are redesigning and rewriting Luke. So before we get started, I made a whole bit, but because I don't want to do the bit the second time, I'm just gonna this video, please. I'm going to mention it. I have a Discord server. Please go check it out if you want to. No pressure, but I do post artwork that I wouldn't otherwise post elsewhere, or spoilers for future uploads that I may or may not bail on making, but hey, you get more spoilers. But as that aside, you can also talk to other pastries, also brain rot with them, like multiple series, I guess. Mostly the Music Freaks, the Lesbian Liar, and all the other stuff. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy this video because just from recording the voice alone, this took a lot. Again, I forgot to mention, this is by no means an attack towards Rosie Closey. This is not a, hey, I can do better, I can write better. No, it is not. I am appreciative of the canon Music Freaks. I don't really care if mine is better or not, which I doubt it's better, but... And also, I'm doing this for fun, again, like most people do anything. And that's pretty much it. Let's get started. So, for future reference, I quite literally had no clue where to start or where to go off, and the reason being is that I actually like his outfit now. Like, I can never draw it right, but I like it the most out of all of the characters, mostly because I can look at it more and not want to adjust anything. So yeah, but I once again added quite a bit of stuff. As you can see, this segment is kind of improv, by the way. Most of the times I write the script before I design the characters, but now I have designed the characters so I can actually specify. So as you can see here in the sketch, I tried to make the scarf black, but I ended up changing my mind anyway eventually, and I added multiple pins because I just thought he'd like putting them on. And that aside, I added other random stuff like bracelets, unnecessary bracelets, of course his version of the friendship bracelet, cactus, and that other stuff. I tried to make his hair shorter, but for some reason I can't draw it in the way I want, so I decided to just give him longish hair, and so that's basically it. His jacket, I initially didn't plan on adding it, but because it felt empty without it, for his first version, I put it around his waist, and for the other version, he put patches onto it, because the only reason why he doesn't wear his jacket, at least until episode 6, etc., of course, is because it was kind of like broken, and he didn't want to get rid of it because it was probably from his parents or a gift that accidentally got ruined. And also freckles, because they are nice and canon, and if you can see here, I gave Luke a tooth gap. That's basically it. So just as a disclaimer, this part is probably longer than Millie's, so yeah. Luke, for the most part, is a cardboard box. Luke is a pacifist, according to the description of his Gacha Club character, and he's really nice, and he loves Xander, and he likes the drums. Red, fire. Wait, that isn't even canon. So let's rewrite him. For the most part, Luke is the same, but with flavor. Sparkle emoji. In simple words, Luke has made a name for himself in school. People like him, but they're not really close or know him all that much. He's put on a sort of a high, what is that thing? What do you call the thing you step on to make you seen? Pedestal! Okay, they put Luke on a pedestal mostly because he is quite an impressive student. Not only is he a part of the student council, but he is also a part of the school soccer team and is pretty good, and he also has quite decent grades, like grades that they're not perfect but they're like higher than an average student, you know. And so that aside, being nice is pretty much the portrait Luke has painted for himself. He has the tendency to not say no because he wants to help out people, because he feels better helping out people rather than just leaving them be. Basically selfless to anyone. And to some degree, it's kind of like being a people pleaser too, so he's always there and ready to help, and he typically doesn't really mind helping around. Being nice, as far as how everyone sees him as, is what he's fine with, and what he doesn't want to be seen as is the quote-unquote lesser version of himself, which he's less bothered of opening up to them in the music club because he has no one to impress there, or not really someone he has to prove to. It's all family and he feels safe to be himself. So now this brings the question. If Luke doesn't present himself completely like he really is, then who is the real Luke? So on the surface level, of course, he's the peacemaker, but in reality, he can also mess around with the others and even sometimes causing the chaos. He probably gets along with Millie and Sean mostly at music parts since their instruments typically go well the best together, and he probably jokes a lot more and is more sort of confident to make jokes and stuff, which probably fits in line and it's just for me to make an excuse as to why he's flirty with Xander at certain parts in the future episodes, which, yeah, that's pretty much it. On another note, like the sun, he has a fiery heart. What do I mean by that? Anger issues. That was so bad, help. Luke would have the habit of internalizing his frustrations and grievances. He has resentment for people more so than Haley or even Xander, and as a result, anyone who sees him like this will kind of consider him as Two-Faced. Luke, as I can imagine during certain parts of the series, of course, in my version, in my rewrite, whenever someone they don't like comes up and talks to them, when no one's looking at him or when he's at the back of the group, he just breaks from his typical warm smile or confused look into a very resentful glare. Maybe similar as to the one he gave Jake during that threat in episode 2. Maybe certain characters would even point out when the person who sees it mentions it that, no, Luke would never do that, or why would Luke do that? Because they believe it's very out of character for him to do that. Example is Jake walking into the club room for the first time. Luke glares at him while no one is looking at him directly. And also, it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, like, it's kind of unrelated, but it's part of what I'm mentioning. But I find it hard to believe that Luke doesn't have a clue on who Jake is, or at least what Jake does to his childhood friends. Like, how isn't he that angry, or at least a bit concerned, that this jerk that bullies your crush and friend is trying to join the club? Like, I understand being kind and second thought after hearing Jake sing and also his intent, but dude. That aside, I did also meddle around with Stacy a bit. Unfortunately, her purpose in the rewrite is still to be a hurdle in Lander's relationship, but let me get into that. Stacy is Luke's English partner for their recent project, or essay. So Stacy is not only watching his games, but is also directly friends because they talk about the project, and of course, you kinda get close if the people click. Stacy develops her crush on him because Luke is very good with getting along with people, and that charms her. Luke also thinks good of Stacy, but I think he's a bit annoyed at her because I'd imagine Stacy to be kind of a dumbass who asks about the obvious things, like, way to state the obvious. And also, another reason he probably wouldn't or doesn't like Stacy as much as she likes him is because she gains a crush on the version of Luke that he's just pretending to be, or at least just trying hard to be, just so he can get by high school with a good moral. Not the Luke he is with the club, the one he actually is. So back to my earlier statement, Stacy is stupid and Luke has a tendency not to deny helping people, so he ends up dealing with it. And so, that aside, Luke probably has a lot of errands to run mid breaks or free period, and also occasionally at the end of school. The guy has a very busy schedule, but nonetheless, he's ready to decline if it means the music club needs him. Still, though, he's selfless. Really selfless. To the point it's unhealthy. He's a representative in the student council because his classmates voted him to. He's a part of the soccer team because his teachers saw potential in the one time they played it during PE class and he couldn't decline. And also his grades are probably quite stellar because his parents, although they're not putting that much pressure on him, expects him to go to a decent college. So far, the only thing he's been able to control for himself is the music club. But even so, there's a strain because Xander and a few people in the club are too scared of change. Suppose that fear also wore onto Luke, causing him to occasionally still keep his nice guy school persona during club meetings. There's probably also this fact that he has this vendetta against Drew, because not only did he hurt Haley back in middle school, but Drew probably reinforces constantly that he will never be good enough and just be a freak no matter what. Every time Luke tries to bring up an idea in the student council, Treasurer Drew shoots him down. But that's the thing, he can't exactly snap back because snapping back to someone who is considered a star student like Drew would mean he'd let down the teachers who think highly of him, let down the other students who rely or even idolize him, and even let down the club because prior to Jake, he was the only opportunity for the club to even get good feedback. Luke's main issue is that he cares too much about everyone but himself, including what they think, and that is not good in the slightest, and that not only hurts him, but it also hurts the people around him. So with that said, let's go ahead to the next segment of this video. Wow, this one was long. So let's add a bit more to his episode, alright? So, aside from obviously renaming the episode to Selfless Luke instead of Lovesick Luke, the episode starts with after they perform, you know, like usual. Eventually, Jake spots Luke looking kind of glum, and he kind of walks up to him and asks if he's okay, and Luke kind of semi-sasses Jake away because he is really not in the mood. Eventually, Xander offers Luke to walk home as they typically do, but Luke is kind of off because he has a small panic since he, foreshadowing, has something he has to give to Stacy that he promised to give at the end of the day, but eventually Xander kind of convinces him to just give it to her the next day, and I'm sure there was a hint of jealousy in Xander's tone that Luke might not have caught, probably because he's worried about how Stacy would feel and whatever, but they go walk home together in the first place. Anyway, not in the first place, they walk home anyway. So the same stuff happens. He walks home, there's their home moment, insert seasons, and yeah. Then we cut to the next day. Jake is still worried about Luke, so he just sort of keeps an eye on him during classes since they do have classes that they go to at the same time. So yeah, he keeps an eye on him, especially during free times, and he just sort of sees the amount of people he does favors for and shit. And then he catches him and Stacy, and Jake is just now aware Stacy likes him because, let's face it, you can easily tell if someone has a crush on someone with the way they talk. Like, if you know this person personally and they're talking to their crush, like, hey, that is not the tone of voice you use when you talk to normal people, bestie. Anyway, out of concern, I think Jake would eventually walk up to Luke before the whole science class with Haley and just ask, hey, what's up? So Luke answers, the ceiling. I'm so not funny. But this is, seriously, on a serious note, this is when Luke rambles about how lucky Jake is that he can sing his feelings out, and also because he's much more confident to fix outside his box Jake is. Although doubting Jake, Luke is alongside Millie and Sean to accept his genuine passion at that point. He'd explain how he's kind of jealous of Jake about being able to not care about how other people feel by joining the club, and also just be himself in general, not aware that Jake is also caring about people's judgment and that he's quite similar to Luke than what Luke thinks. And then the bell rings and it's off to science. Jake and Haley talk, and Jake finds out Luke's crush is Xander because, for what Haley knows, Luke is just off because of the crush, or they fought because I'm sure at the end of the day, Xander went home and it was iffy. So Jake once again catches up to Luke after the episode moves on like normal and gives him a pep talk because he notices Luke was about to again sacrifice his supposed rest time to help someone out. So Jake does something that not a lot of people have actually done for Luke. Actually care about what he might want. Actually care about how Luke feels, because let's face it, barely anyone has at this rate. So Jake tells him this without caring about what everyone thinks. Our teachers, our classmates, heck, even our club. Luke, what do you want to do? And what does Luke want to do first? Without caring about how others but him would feel? Tell Xander he likes him, eh? You see where I'm going for? Yeah? Anyways, Jake eventually tells him, hey, maybe you can write a song if you want to sing out feeling so badly. I can sing it for you. And Luke kind of thinks that this is probably a good opportunity, so he agrees, and Jake is now dead set on helping Luke. Eventually, the episode does continue on like normal from canon, even though Jake kind of fluked on his promise to sing for Luke. Luke does let it pass because without Jake in the first place anyway, Haley would not have a song to sing, or let alone without Jake in the first place, Lander would not have happened. So now let's move on to the next segment, which is pretty much just a continuation for this one. Xander, 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 oh my beloved Xander. Of course, in Xander's part, I added a Luke segment, so it'll be very ironic if I don't give Luke's rewrite a Xander segment. So let's talk about Xander. So the same still does apply in my video for Xander, but I think this time I'm going to explain stuff I neglected to explain about Luke instead. So, like Xander, Luke would not want to tell his crush because what would Xander think, and the fact that this might ruin the friendship that they have. Maybe Luke subconsciously is tired of hiding it though. Maybe sometimes he slips up and tries to get close, but his acts that cause him to do that is what warrant Xander to push him away. This in turn only solidified Luke's thoughts that him confessing is not what Xander needs. He's very worried and concerned about what Xander feels because Luke generally does care about everyone's feelings but his. So maybe Luke came off cold at the start of episode 4 because he was jealous of Jake. After episode 2, Xander did begin to start and try to look past Jake, especially after Millie's episode. And after all, why wouldn't Luke be jealous? Jake can sing, he isn't scared of judgment, and after all, Jake did a better job at giving publicity to their club than Luke ever could. Soon after, Luke kind of forgets about the jealousy because Jake helping him realizes that Jake poses no threat and that he is genuine and he wants to help. So not only does this kind of relieve Luke to some degree, but this ups his trust to Jake, which makes the recent episode more painful. And keeping true to his words, I'm sure in episode 5 he does try to do things he wants to do himself, like decline favors and just probably do random stuff, you know, and maybe even wear his broken jacket at that rate, and just for a change of pace. Like, he just changes stuff because he just wants a change of pace. He does emphasis on tries. He does pretty well up till Stacy does drop her books and ask Luke to help her. After slight hesitation, since she did fall over, Luke felt inclined to help. And when they get to the English classroom, Lululian, and then they get to the English classroom, not classroom, she confesses. And because I don't really like how Stacy kind of forced herself onto Luke and the fact that he didn't pull away. Instead, Xander doesn't come when they kiss, rather he misunderstands the conversation. In my rewrite, her confession is done by the time Xander comes, and he just misunderstands because Stacy is either hugging Luke or holding his face or being like touchy-feely because she's grateful for Luke for rejecting her in such a kind way. So maybe instead of Stacy holding Luke back, Luke is the one who stays behind himself because he felt bad for Stacy. She probably cried, and obviously just because you don't like someone like that doesn't mean you don't care about them. And Luke, who's already very caring about how other people would feel, would even hesitate a bit even if he wants to follow Xander. And so instead of again restraining him, she motivates him, and he chases Xander and finally confesses, blah blah blah. End of episode 5. And that's pretty much it. I'll probably elaborate in future parts about Luke, but I think I'm done. Let's go! Finally, I can stop recording this! Oh my god!
Hello pastries, because I am stupid idiot I forgot to record the outro. And because of circumstances I literally cannot record it anymore, so now this is it. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I promise Sean's rewrite will come out probably sometime next year. Thank you for being so patient with me and making this rewrite series, and again, check out Akie's Cake Cavern for spoilers and to be able to vibe. Also go check out my good friend GFD, he does stop motion, which is a very delicate animation thing, so appreciate his channel. He'll probably be the second link in the description below. That's all, take care everyone, bye.